Perfect isn't always beautiful, and beautiful isn't always perfect. If you've ever seen a photo with a dreamy, swirling background blur, chances are it was taken with this lens, the Helios 44. Before we dive into the lens itself, let me take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Millie, and I'm an amateur photographer from Serbia. Welcome to my channel, Lens Lore. I love shooting vintage glass on modern mirrorless cameras, and over time I've collected quite a few lenses that I can't wait to talk to you about. This is my very first video, and here are some things that you can expect on my channel. I will do some lens reviews and give you my honest opinions. We will discuss the pros and cons of each lens. I will give you some DIY tips and tricks, like how to find the perfect copy of a vintage lens. And perhaps we will do some deep dives into photography history and the iconic photographers who shaped this art form and who continue to inspire us today. There will be much more, so stick around. And of course, I'd love to hear from you guys. So feel free to leave your questions, ideas, or suggestions down in the comments. Alright, let's move on to the Helios. The Helios was born in the Soviet Union more than 70 years ago, and it became one of the most mass-produced and most beloved vintage lenses ever made. But behind its magical bokeh lies a fascinating story of war, engineering, and just a touch of imperfection that changed photography forever. It all started in Germany with the Zeiss Biotar 58mm f2 designed back in the 1930s. The Biotar was one of the finest lenses of its time, sharp, fast, and beautifully engineered. After World War II, the Soviet Union took over parts of Zeiss's optical production and relocated its machinery and engineers to Russia, where they reverse engineered the Biotar design. And that's how the Helios 44 was born. The first Helios 44 was produced around 1958 for the Zenit SLR cameras. Over the decades, millions of copies were made, not from one factory, but several: KMZ, MMZ, Valdai, and many more. Each factory had introduced its own quirks into the design and manufacturing process, resulting in countless subtle variations among the lenses. The earliest versions had 13 aperture blades, which were later reduced to 8. You'll see models like the Helios 44, 44-2, 44M, all the way up to 44M7. Among them, the Helios 44-2 from the 1970s became a favorite among photographers. It features a smooth aperture ring, silky manual focus, and that unmistakable swirling bokeh that gives the lens its soul. I also have the Helios 44-2, and I will be showing images taken by both Helios 44 and 44-2 today. I will discuss the differences between the two versions in one of my future videos. So why is the Helios still so loved? Technically speaking, it's not perfect, maybe even far from it, but that's exactly what makes it special. It's sharp in the center, but can be soft at the edges. Its contrast is gentle, and colors can be a bit warm. When you shoot wide open at f2, the background doesn't just blur, it spins. It's pure magic. The swirling bokeh comes from optical aberrations and field curvature. These are actually things that modern lens designers try to eliminate. But in the Helios, those flaws become features, giving photos a moody, emotional character that modern glass just can't replicate. For me, this lens is more than a piece of glass and metal. It's a bridge between eras, from Soviet factories to today's digital sensors. It reminds me that photography isn't just about perfection, it's about feeling. Every swirl, every flare, every imperfection becomes part of your creative fingerprint. Now, let's talk about what makes this lens shine, and where it can be a bit challenging. The first pro is that it's quite affordable. It's cheap, it's accessible. You can find good copies for around $20 to $30. It has a lot of character. It produces unique, character-filled images for very little money. It's quite abundant. It's widely available thanks to massive production numbers. It gives you a lot of creative control, and it forces you to slow down and shoot intentionally. It's very versatile. It's great for street, portrait, and low-light photography once you get used to the manual focus. It flares beautifully. If you like atmosphere and mood, this lens delivers. Now let's move on to some cons, or quirks as I like to call them. First of all, it's very old. Helios 44 was produced between 1958 and 1970. Because it's so old, quality varies greatly, so choose your copy carefully. Since I got my Helios 44, I have had this issue of a loose focus ring. This can create a problem since the inner mechanism becomes exposed, meaning that dirt and other unwanted things can enter the lens. Actually, I just noticed these tiny little screws on the side of the focus ring, so I will try to tighten them and see whether that will solve this issue. Wow, that actually worked beautifully. The focus ring is not wobbly anymore, and there is no gap when I turn it. Amazing! The next con, or quirk, is that this lens is manual focus only. You will need to take your time focusing, so I don't think it's ideal for commercial work or fast-paced shoots, at least not at first. You can get some flat, straight out of camera results, but with some editing, they come to life beautifully. It is prone to flare and ghosting. Sometimes this can cause loss of contrast or some desaturated colors. As you see, I have actually put flaring in both the pros and cons column. For some people, including me, flares can be a fun addition to a photograph, but others prefer not to have them, so whether this one is actually a pro or a con is entirely up to you and your personal preference. The Helios 44 changed the way I see photography. It taught me to slow down, to think before I press the shutter, to compose with intention, and to find beauty in imperfection. It lets us see the world differently, through swirls, flares, and those dreamy bubbles of light that our eyes just can't see. Sure, it can be moody, soft, and unpredictable, but for me, that's exactly what makes it worth using. Its character can't be faked, and that's something truly special. Thank you so much for sticking around till the end. If you've enjoyed this video, or you feel like you learned something new, please like and subscribe, and join me on this journey as we explore many more interesting and forgotten lenses. Till next time, bye!